Is the provision of ambulances cover in West Cork, and the Deputy has 4 minutes speaking time. Deputy Michael McCarthy.
Thank you, Ciara. I want to thank the Ceann Comhairle for selecting my issue for the topical debates this afternoon in the House, and to thank the Minister himself for being here in person to take this. There's a planned curtailment of the ambulance service in West Cork by the HSE. They're bringing forward plans to remove ambulance cover from both Skibbereen and Castletownbere between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. and to replace the service with 2 rapid response cars. Each car will have no patient carrying capability and will be manned by 1 paramedic only. The net effect of an action like this will be that a population in excess of 82,000 people in the wider West Cork area will be serviced by just 2 ambulances, 1 in Bantry and 1 in Clonakilty, from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. 7 days a week. To say that this is causing considerable stress would be an understatement, not least given the overstretched ambulance service that already exists in this area, and is a very strong, genuine and sincerely held belief that an action like this is going to endanger lives. Presently, there is about 1 ambulance for every 37,000 people in this country. The withdrawal of a 24-hour cover in Skibbereen and Castletownbere means that this will rise in West Cork to 1 ambulance for every 57,000 people in Cork County as a whole. It's frankly unacceptable in the 21st century that this type of situation is allowed to prevail. I would appeal to the Minister to reverse this decision. From the outset, I do want to acknowledge that the second phase of the proposal from the HSE will restore the 24-hour ambulance cover in Castletown. While I welcome that move, I do strongly believe that it negates the whole reason for removing cover from the area in the first instance. I question the logic in restoring cover in Castletownbere, but not in Skibbereen, which is the second busiest and occasionally the busiest 999 ambulance station in West Cork, second only to Clonakilty. If Skibbereen loses its 24-hour cover, it effectively means that the vast area from Rosscarbery west to the Mizzen Head will have no service after 8 o'clock in the evening, 7 days a week. This will have a hugely adverse impact on people in the areas of Leap, Glandore, Union Hall, Castletownshend, Skibbereen, Baltimore, the Islands, Ballydehob, Schull, Goleen and Crookhaven. Another key issue to be considered in the context of this proposal is the fact that the South Dock service in Skibbereen closes after 11 p.m, meaning that if needs be, or if the requirement is there for a GP after hours, a doctor would have to come from Bantry, which is 30 kilometres away. Now, the HSE has a target time of 10 minutes, which is the maximum time for treating a trauma casualty on site before transporting him or her to hospital. The withdrawal of a 24-hour cover in Skibbereen will mean that, in respect of advanced paramedics or ambulance after 8 p.m. or doctors after 11 p.m, this target time will simply not be met. Heaping more pressure on the situation at Cathaoirleach are future plans by the HSE to shut the minor injuries assessment unit in Bantry Hospital at night. It means that all trauma patients will have to be taken to Cork City during these hours, leaving a minimum 3-hour absence of ambulance cover from the West Cork area and going into Cork City, where there already is a huge demand in the service. In the recent case of Roscommon, the closure of the casualty department was offset by the provision of extra ambulance cover. The opposite will happen in West Cork, where ambulances will be taken out of the service during the Bantry minor injuries and assessment unit closure times. There are honest and palpable fears about this issue. I would appeal to you, Minister, to look at this sympathetically.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you. I'd like to thank the Deputy for raising this issue to allow for clarity around it. The HSE has confirmed to me that no ambulance stations are closing in Cork and Kerry. In fact, the opposite is true as stations move to on-duty status and away from on-call. This means our highly trained paramedic crews will be on-site in their stations to respond to calls, rather than having to go to the station when called out. It also means that resources can be deployed dynamically based on need and demand patterns, rather than simply by location, producing more flexibility and responsiveness. This will produce better response times for people in the Cork and Kerry area and a better service. Skibbereen will, under the new system, move to full 24-hour on-duty cover. Paramedics will be present at all times, with an on-duty ambulance during the day and an on-duty rapid response vehicle at night. The dynamic delivery model means that an on-duty emergency ambulance will be available from within the region as required. I note that ambulance staff sought the elimination of on-call working, that it has already been reduced from 44 hours a week to 16 hours per week, and that it will continue to decrease on a phased basis as part of the improvement of services and response times in the region. There are ongoing discussions with staff on implementing the proposals, including Skibbereen. The HSE and unions are committed to this process. The National Ambulance Service proposals are phased. In Phase 1, stations in East Cork with night-time on-call will have crews rostered on duty 24/7, 365 days a year. The more rural stations, Castletown, Bear, Kenmare, Bantry, Skibbereen and Cahersiveen, will be in later phases. The services will be evaluated after each phase. Current evidence suggests patient outcomes can be improved by better treatment and stabilisation at the scene, followed by ongoing treatment and transport to the most appropriate centre, even if that means longer transport times. On-duty service will enable a modern emergency response service involving paramedics, advanced paramedics, community first responders and GP out-of-hours services working together to respond to emergency situations. This approach is consistent with international best practice and will ensure compliance with HICWA response times and quality standards. On-duty rostering is one of several service enhancements. Other developments include improved arrangements for control and dispatch, practitioner deployment and inter-hospital transfers. All of these will allow the National Ambulance Service to provide a better, safer, more comprehensive and more efficient emergency ambulance service to the people of Skibbereen and to the Cork and Kerry region as a whole.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Ciarán. I would refer to, I do thank the Minister for being here in person, and I thank him for his reply, but I should point to the second paragraph. Skibbereen will, under the new system, move to a full 24-hour on-duty cover. Paramedics will be present at all times, with an on-duty ambulance during the day and an on-duty rapid response vehicle at night. The dynamic delivery model means that an on-duty emergency ambulance will be available from within the region as required. That simply is not the case. And quite frankly, Ceann Comhairle, that information is inaccurate. Now, the official who drafted that response is at his worst, or her worst, lying, and at best is grossly ignorant. The story is as I outlined in my contribution. Now I want to ask the Minister a number of questions. Does the Minister agree with me that removing an ambulance from an area as vast, from a geographic area as expansive as West Cork, is going to endanger lives? And secondly, would the Minister himself, or would anybody else in this House, be happy if they were suffering a heart attack to see a car with one individual in it or an ambulance with trained paramedics? We are at least an hour and a half from Cork City, and what the HSE are proposing to do here is going to endanger lives. Now, I would be very interested to meet the official who drafted this response, because quite frankly, if this is believed, the same individuals will believe the tooth fairy.
Minister.
Well, I'll address both points. I think what is being said here is that there'll be an on-duty emergency ambulance within the region as required. Now, it doesn't say the area, it says the region, and regions are obviously covering larger areas, so perhaps that's what the individual means. But I'm quite happy to arrange a meeting for the Deputy and the individual who drafted this response. I'm not in the business of giving this information to this House, and if this isn't accurate, I certainly would take a very serious view of it. The second point to make is around the golden hour. And this is an old concept that's 40 years old. It comes from the field medicine of armies, and all international experience now and experts and our own emergency department consultants and specialists are very clear that it is far more important to receive the appropriate treatment in a bigger centre than to receive more immediate treatment at a smaller centre where the full range of skill set may not be present. And also the fact that we now have paramedics on site to commence treatment while an ambulance is on its way makes a huge difference to the outcomes for patients. So I would like to reassure the Deputy that in my view, paramedics and advanced paramedics are a huge addition to the service, and in fact will result in many lives being saved rather than the reverse. Thank you.
Thank you.